what we're going to do is I'm just going to start off with a Niji prompt, actually. So let's zoom in here, and I am going to type slash imagine, which is how we bring up the prompting inside of Discord here. And we are just going to type, in fact, I need to bring this window up a little bit. There we go. There you guys can see it. What we're going to just type here is, let's just do multiple comic panels to start. Because this is just going to randomize the result. You know, no set characters or anything like that. But I am going to provide a profile code, which is 3 different mood boards put in a particular order. So one of them is a... what is it? Is the Phantasma stuff we've been working on. Another one is a comic that I haven't actually released it because I'm not 100% happy with it, but I am really happy with the results of the mood board from it, so I included that. And then the last one was the upcoming Sage comic, which will probably be coming out next week. I'm hoping so. For anyway, I've had a lot of random delays lately in my release schedules. So, okay, so now we're going to add Niji 6 to the end of this prompt to make it like within an anime dataset. And then, let's see here. And just for fun, I'm going to make the aspect ratio. Let's make it 2:3, just something a little bit more closer to a comic page here. There's a lot of different ways you can prompt for comic panels, but this particular mood board is already has them built in. All 3 of the different mood boards include comic panels. So it's quite likely you don't even need to prompt for comic panels, but I am curious what you guys can do by using this particular line order of the profile here. So it's going to lean fantasy. It's going to lean in certain directions, but I really, really love the results that you can get, not just with the prompt itself, but also with what is it with CREF. Particularly getting consistent character referencing across multiple panels can sometimes be tough, depending on the style reference or the profile codes you're using. So what I've had a lot of luck with this actually is by combining them with the CREFs. So let's try re-rolling this, and then I have a couple CREFs set aside from our server. Let me grab one of them really quick here, and then we'll dig into how you guys can submit your own characters and stuff for our comics. So I've got a character here named Momo. This one is from Second Serving of Noodles. And the reason I'm using Momo, by the way, is because if you include characters in your mood boards that exist in that you want to prompt for, as in like you've generated character references and or you've drawn characters and you want to see them repeat in your prompts, you can actually make mood boards of your characters, and that will help a ton for continuity. So let's just add this CREF in there and then hit submit. Now, again, we haven't given it any direction. It doesn't know what we want when it comes to a comic panel. It just knows to take the general idea of comic panels and then give us something. But I'm very curious to see what you guys can do by combining these. So it does have to be in the particular order, though. So starting with the VH and then B1 and then K9, that particular line order does some really interesting stuff when it comes to creating just subtle variations between each one of the panels. At least in my experience, I've had a lot of fun with this particular prompt because I can quickly make comic panels that I can send out to my artist friends and be like, here's a pitch, here's an idea, right? Because there is such subtle variation between the results. So we're going to let those render here for a moment. Let's see, did my CRF one go through? Let's see, where's Momo? Did she come through? I think we're still waiting on that one to come in. I'll run it again just in case, but I believe we're waiting on it. Let's see here. Oh, I see nameless. I see. I think something went wonky. Check your web gallery. Okay, there she is. Okay, all right. We got Momo here now. Okay, cool. So one of the comics is set in a European city, right? So you're going to get some random European architecture in the backgrounds. Like that is definitely the case in some of these. But what I really like about these, at least the result of this profile code is these profile codes, sorry, is that we get like just a subtle reaction change between each panel, and it just makes it easier to kind of piece together dialogue with this. At least in my opinion, it does. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm curious what you guys what you guys do with your characters particularly. So just insert a CREF for your character and start to develop and see what sort of comics you can make, either with these profile codes or with your own. I'm curious to see what you guys do. And like, look at this. I mean, look at how much fun it is to reliably go panel to panel on some of these results. Like I know you already upres the one I clicked on here, so let's take a look. Here, look at this. I mean, not only are we getting continuity of the character, but we're getting continuity of the character across multiple expressions that are not in or not inside of these character sheets yet, which is just huge. The potential out of this, I think, is quite literally fire. I like it. Yes. So I want you guys to play around with this, and then if you guys start to construct a story, whoever finishes the first like proper dialogue back and forth, preferably between two characters, doesn't have to be, but preferably between two characters, we will add that to the list of comics that we're going to finish today, and or just red line and overview today. So start having fun. You might need to expand, zoom out, or use the web editor. The web editor especially is the most powerful for getting, honing in these comics. Because right now, the default result will give you something that's usually workable, but you really need to find that sweet spot. And I'll have Rhapsody on a little later to talk about seeds. So let's show one more little thing here, which is that if I reroll any of these and just simply add a speech bubble prompt, it will do that not only across the first panel, but also across all the others if you kind of set it up right. So let's take, like, say this one here from Senior Carlos. They have a character here, and the prompt is just multiple comic panels, so they're just kind of standing around doing stuff. And the CREF is 4 different images, so we're just going to take a quick look at those. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I like him. He's a pretty cool looking guy. So now let's do a line order or linear line order of speech bubbles. This is something I've been messing with. There's no guarantee this is gonna work. Okay, never is with AI, but this is what I've been doing. Let's do multiple speech bubbles. Multiple speech bubbles that read, and then let's just actually split this up into 3 sentences here. So multiple speech bubbles. The first speech bubble reads, "Where am I?" And the second speech bubble reads, "Clearly lost." We'll just go with that and see what this does. And I will say that the higher your stylization is, right, the more likely you are going to, this is just true in general, the more likely you're going to have less interesting elements between panels and more just singular beautiful shots of individuals. So you kind of want to move away from the overtly highly stylized results, I feel like, of like going to like S850 or S1000. I wouldn't really worry about that just yet. Maybe you'll get something better that way, but look at this. Okay. So this is the result where I said asking for 2 different speech bubbles, right? And look how well it actually understood the concept here. Where am I? Clearly lost. Where am, and then clearly lost. Where am, clearly lost. So like it's yes, you're gonna get some AI slop, weirdness, all that kind of stuff, but you can actually line order the order of your panels with speech alone, using this profile code. Now you could probably do this without the profile codes, but I am curious to see how far you guys can actually make comics this way. By asking for the first speech bubble, the second speech bubble, so on and so forth. Curious. I'm just curious to see what you guys can do with that. I've noticed reliability when it comes to doing that lately. So, let's see what we got. Ooh, Rhapsody's got some fun things. Nixie's got some really fun things. I'm so curious to see what you guys dig through this. But for now, I'm going to figure out where Rhapsody is. And if we bring her on this, is it cool if we bring her on the stage here? Let's see. Are you ready, Raps?
Absolutely. Let me get her.
Yeah, she's got her hand up. Awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
I am so ready.
Okay.
He was too fast for me.
Let's see here. I got to get this link back up for Rhapsody here. Just a moment. Let's see. Yeah, because it's coming up as blank. Okay, I see what happened here. Let me just delete this real quick. And grab this little thing, and then we'll start getting into construction, comic construction, as well as starting to talk about some of the initial results you guys are getting, because these are looking amazing already. So let me just get this URL in there. All right, I did post your. Okay, there you are. All right. Now, why aren't you showing up in the video feed here? I see you waving. I see you waving when I double click on it and look at it, but I'm not seeing you waving on my actual feed here. Okay, it's probably because you're too big. That's probably what happened. Yes, there you are. You're hidden in the void. You're lost in the void. Let me shrink you down a little bit here. Oh my God, no, that arm's too long. Okay, there you are. All right, she's in here now. Hi, Raps.
Hello.
Alrighty. It's thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very curious to hear what you were talking about with me earlier when it comes to seeds. But the how's your day going?
Oh, my day is going fantastic. Came back from Hamburg yesterday. Had a nice flight. And then I just slept and put some comic together today. So all in all, it's a great one.
Good, good, good. I'm really glad to hear. And it's super rare to say you had a good flight. I never have good flights. I don't like flying at all.
Really, I love it.
I used to. When I was younger, I used to, and then I just got hit with my sense of mortality hit in, and I was like, oh no, I don't like this at all, actually. So
Uh, well, people are joking that when you're flying, that you're just sitting on the wing of of the plane. So
oh
I
yeah,
guess that's a problem.
that is true. That is true. Yeah, the fact that you guys put me in a Twilight Zone bit on our server, I'll go over that really quick with you guys because I feel like that is something that uh, that people will want to see here. So I'm just going to zoom in really quick and show you guys that on our server, we have the Gnarly Studios server. And I'm just going to open this up in another uh, window here. I should have opened this up a different way. It's all good. It's all good. Let's see. We have a comics panel, like a whole comics section that you guys can join and start checking out some of the comics that we've made and submit your own. So I'm just gonna copy this, post this in a new window real quick, so I have it. Okay, yeah, I'll go to that later. Okay, so if you look at the Gnarly Studio server, Kinky has actually linked it inside of VC text for you guys, so you guys are welcome to just click that join button and immediately hop into our server to make cool stuff together. There's been a couple fun stuff also posted to media, just like different ideas and projects you guys are working on. I'm trying to remember where the wing comic is. I believe it might be in comics actually, maybe, or
It
is it?
is in comics.
It is in comics. Okay, so if we scroll through here real quick, uh,
There's just so much that was happening the last
yeah,
few days.
it really was. Like it's amazing how productive you guys have been lately.
Is it
Um,
not?
it might not. It might actually be in text chat. Let's see here. Text chat.
That's a
Uh,
possibility.
yeah, I don't know where it is. Oh, there
Yeah,
it is.
it
There
is.
it is.
Yeah,
There it
yeah, it
is.
is in
Okay,
text.
okay. So this is what happened. I first off, I posted a picture of my dog because it was his 10th birthday, and you guys genned a hat and and tie on him and said he's a good boy, and yes, he is certainly a good boy. But yeah, while while Rhapsody was flying, they prompted me sitting on the wing like the freaking gremlin from Twilight Zone. And I got a good laugh out of this, and me fighting the chicken, of course, of course. I this makes me laugh quite a lot. I really did enjoy seeing this banter back and forth with you guys. All right. Do you normally fight chickens? Yes, yes. Every no. On this server, it's become this joke at this point. I reused the meme. Look at all these chickens. Way too much, right? I love that meme. I love that child too much. Like she's just so funny that I'm like, all right, yeah, it's just whatever. It's like, look at all these chickens. It's just whatever they're not chickens. I have to reference that. So okay, so at this point though, feel free to join the server and start like checking it out on your own time and seeing what other cool stuff we got going on. We got so much stuff in there. I'll just get distracted if I don't hop back to the Midjourney server here. So let's see here. Okay. So stoked to actually be working on one of your comics now as a red line, like basically me going in and and making adjustments to one of your comics that actually got some attention on Reddit by Lolo soon, and we're just going to address a couple of the things that we can not only make improvements of, but also just to in general things to look out for, because there are stuff that we're kind of entering a whole new like a whole new workflow and methodology around art using generative imagery, and part of that process is it's really hard to get critiques. It's really hard to get reviews of your art, right? Like especially when you tell people, oh, it's generative, they just don't really see the purpose. They think that you just pushed a button and didn't really make anything, so therefore they're wasting their time giving it a critique. And the reality is quite different. Just to answer Gompasta's question there, redlining is where we basically draw over someone else's art and give them a critique that way. And I'll be doing that in Photoshop today. And if I had a proper way to organize this to where I don't have Photoshop completely dominating my screen, I would have like a side by side of like VC Create while I'm doing the Photoshop stuff today. But I might ask Rhapsody just to kind of take over the screen at times, just because I don't want it to be a little too technical for you guys. But I will get things started here and just show what that process looks like, and then start to take in your all's comics and making adjustments from there. I consider this an essential part of the process because it's I am so I think that there's a lot missed out by basically accepting the first results of what we get. And if you do have access to a drawing tablet, especially, you should be doing this. You really should be. So let's get started. Let's just get this going. And then after that, we'll be digging into some of the, not just the comics you guys made, but how to kind of control these comics a little better. There's some really cool stuff from you guys already.
Oh yeah, I see amazing stuff. I also did recently do some redlining as I'm working with an artist on a little project in the background. So and that was also very fruitful. So maybe we can show that too.
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to show anything that you're comfortable sharing. I want to see it for sure. Especially if it's made, with traditional art and stuff. We can definitely have a lot of fun with that. And Lolo provided their comics for Demon Teacher. It's a series they're working on that uses Midjourney, and so we are going to load up Photoshop here and get you guys started with that, or get at least get our review done of that. So let's go ahead and go to my tablet here. Okay. All right. So yeah, and I got to separate myself a little bit here. Let's see. Victor there. And pull that. There we go. That's better. That's a bit better. All right. So at this point, I'm going to open up page 1 of the Demon Teacher series from Lolo soon. This comic here is impressive. It's combining a couple different efforts from people. I think like Legal Beagle and some others. Lolo soon can properly explain all the credits of who's involved in this. But there's a lot of really awesome stuff that's already been made, already put down here, and there's already obviously so much work that's been put into it, just because I can tell there's a Photoshop file and everything else. So page 1 I didn't really have any real complaints with, right? I didn't really see many issues with page 1, but with page 2, however, I think there is some opportunity. Is it? No, it's page 3. My bad. Page 3. I feel like there is some opportunity for changes here. Okay, so just to kind of give you guys, this premise here. And maybe it would help, Lolo, if you included the original comic instead of VC text for everybody, so that they can review it in their own time. But I wanted to show you guys something here, which is that at least when it comes to doing like the panel order, like panel layout and stuff, sometimes it helps just to move assets around, to like get parts of your comic kind of cleaned up in a way that makes it a little more easier to read. Basically, there's no such thing as filler. There's no such thing as like wasted space or anything like that. Everything has a purpose and a reason why it's there. And so whenever I see things like unnecessary paneling, like you see this one bar that stretches across behind her, that was what I would call an unnecessary panel. Like the context within it might be useful, but there's no reason why we're splitting these two moments here. Okay, so you could easily just take this entire comic and bring it into Midjourney and just in paint just that bar. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm first going to just kind of get rid of this bar. We have Gen, so we have Gen Tech, so I'm going to use it to just fill in this bar really quick, and then we'll start redlining over this. The reason I'm getting rid of the bar first, by the way, is just because I will be drawing on some of this stuff here. So I want to make sure that I have a pretty clean, jump from panel, or just a whole panel here, I mean, sorry. So let's see what we got. Okay. You can see now the candles are a bit floating there, right? And we'll be able to pull those candles and bring them up to the panel prior to it. That's what I would think would be the best way to handle this, is to give some foreground, something interesting for the audience to look at, or to particularly to look through. So for that, let's go ahead and first start taking some parts of this, because if you look at kind of like the continuity of this, there's a little bit of like, why are these candles here, right? Especially now that we've merged these panels here. Iron separate white border layers. Okay, yeah, I can check your layering and stuff to do that properly next time. But in terms of just gen filling this quickly, we did pretty good with just that. But I want to first take some of these assets and bring them over up to the top, because like if we look here, we have this here. Let's take a look. Oh, is there list, like, is that bar completely artificial? Let's take, no, okay. All right, no. It's just because there's a hue overlay that you have on this, it makes more sense actually for me to gen fill it at this point. Because of any sort of like recoloring or retexturing that happens, you'll notice right away when you take away one part of it and it doesn't have that. So there is a hue and saturation layer on here. I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm just going to keep it as is. But what we're going to do is let's just first, I'm going to actually combine all these and make it into a smart object. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can compartmentalize this in pretty dramatic ways. So like, let's go ahead and make a duplicate of this. And then I'm going to simply use object selection. You can manually select these too. It's just a bit of a pain. And I'm just going to grab all these candles here really quick, including the smoke that comes up from that one. And now I'm just going to create a mask around those candles, okay? And we are going to bring them up to here. And let's just try right off the bat to give ourselves something for the audience to look through, because it makes the image so much more interesting when you do. So let's scale up these candles really quick. I can make these into another smart object. Why not? It just makes it so that my bounding box is limited to just where I've selected. So we can kind of come into here and let's put this here, and then start to get rid of some of this background around the candle here. So let's do, my polish is a little high, but that'll work. And we will use the mask again to get rid of what's around the candle. So we just basically select the candle itself, do an inverse selection, so it selects everything that I did not select, and then I just mask around that, and that creates a pretty clean line around the candle. And now we just kind of place this in a position that kind of makes sense for at least what I'm aiming for with this composition here. It's adding some it definitely improves it. I promise you, when it comes to just kind of giving something for the audience to feel like in the moment, in place. A lot of times, Midjourney will basically separate the character and the background in a way that makes it pretty obvious that there's no layers, but that there's basically a character aspect to the prompt, and then the actual or a subject aspect to the prompt, and then the surrounding latent space around that, or the background, basically. And by adding foreground, we make it look more complex and interesting. And unless you prompt for that, you're not going to. You're not going to get that usually, because it does obscure the image. It's like asking for motion blur. If you ask for motion blur, it'll do things like that too, where it just kind of weirdly tries to make it beautiful or not chaotic when it needs to be. So let's go ahead and let's just say we're happy with the position of this first candle here, and then go ahead.
I even think it's better to do it this way, to take some elements and just add them in the foreground later.
Yes.
Because it gives you a better control over the whole image and composition, and you can actually choose which parts of your image to basically overfill, like where to put something over it to either hide some errors or just make the composition a little bit more interesting. And then you also have the option, and for me that's a pretty neat effect, some people like it, some don't, is when the foreground, like these elements, get out of focus. Mm-hmm. And that's something you can easily do in Photoshop with just a tilt shift filter or something, and yeah, then
it really does make a huge difference.
Really, really interesting.
Right. It really does make a big difference to say, like, all right, I just want something that that really one, it shows the humanity behind what you're making, right? Because you're like, there's so much more intent behind having assets versus saying, hey, this is everything just made in a prompt. In my opinion, you're just going to get higher quality stuff out of doing it this way. So let's align the marquee with the bottom of the comic panel here. And now I'm basically just going to create a mask, add on to the mask here on each one of these results, so that, or these two layers here, so that I can essentially say, all right, this mask is here, this mask is here. So now I can just unlink this candle, for example, and I can move it anywhere in the mask here. It'll definitely create a border around it. So, I mean, I could go another step, another layer, and just do this again. But for now, I'm basically just going to get it so that I've isolated all three candles. And then we'll basically start to like blur them and darken them to make them look believable within this scene. So, and that's going to be an interesting thing because we're talking about a light source, okay? Like, yes, I'm talking about something that's bright, but we need to make it obvious that it's also obscuring the camera in a way, okay? So let's go ahead and grab one more layer here. I'll marquee out this last candle real quick. I know that when it comes to especially the masks and stuff, I can be a little chaotic about it, but I just prefer to do it this way because it means that I really have everything saved in the history of these. So if I want to at any point go ahead and edit this candle, I can just hit edit contents and just start getting deeper and deeper into this project until I'm working on the original source again. So now that let's get this last candle and put it like something like, let's see what makes sense for this little guy here. I think actually going 2 layers down and then hiding him a little bit behind here. Now you have to be careful when it comes to scaling with line art, particularly because it'll be very, very obvious if your line art is mismatched. And some of my comics have that problem where you notice that there's mismatching and stuff like that. We're basically just going to get away with that by relying on certain blurs and chaos elements to really sell this final image here. So let's try the exposure stuff here really quick, and then I'll start filling in some of the art, as well as cleaning up some things, as well as getting into redlining. If your whole comic is mismatched line weights, you can just call it a style. I get so frustrated when people aren't willing to improve themselves because they just claim it as their style. Oh yeah, no, I don't know how to draw hands. I that's just my style. Like that kind of stuff. It's lazy. It's just I can't see a seasoned artist ever saying that. Um, but okay, so let's finish up some of this stuff here. So let's go into this candle here. I'm going to go to image adjustments and then exposure, and I just want to see what this does. I'm sorry.
We need line ref in Midjourney.
Yeah, line ref. There you go. Yeah, get on it. We'll see what happens. But what I usually do with exposure is I'll usually drop the offset and then find a good dark spot. I would say something relatively darker. I would say maybe something like here. And then I will duplicate that layer and turn off the exposure on the top. Okay. And then using masks once again, we will drop the hardness of a brush. So it's this big soft brush, okay? And we will basically just start to draw the light back into this candle, okay? Or sorry, just draw the shadows now. So like, let's go ahead and drop the opacity just to like 25 or so. And now we start drawing the darkness back into this candle here, just a little bit. And then we'll get into some proper redlining here. So you can see I added a little bit of depth to it, a little bit of light to that. And now we can kind of come into here and we could even adjust this exposure to be down a little more. Something like this. See just how much more dramatic it is just to have that little bit of gap there. It's a little too contrasted now. So let's go ahead, image adjustments, hue and saturation. I'm going to drop that saturation a little bit. And yeah, the color's fine. But the brightness we can bring up just a little bit just to make it match the rest of the art a bit. Okay, there you go. And I am going to grab these two candles here. Let's merge them together into another smart object. I abuse smart objects way too much, guys. I admit that right off the bat here. But we are going to make a mask out of that one more time. Let's bring the opacity back up to 100 so we get nice clean erasing going on. And I'm just going to clean up the outer edges of this flame. And from here, what I'm going to do is actually drop down the size quite a lot and clean up the insides of this flame.
Is there a reason why you do this afterwards instead of the beginning when you selected things and had basically the first smart object with the candles?
The reason I do it that way is because I'm oftentimes looking at the composition more than the art at first. In terms of like the actual nitty gritty, like if I start getting into like creating clean masks over stuff, I usually end up doing a bunch of useless work. As in like I'll mask around a bunch of things I don't actually end up using, you know. But at least for me, the way that I've approached this in the past is just like as long as I have generally the idea of what I'm aiming for in the right positions and stuff, I can then hone in each parts of these layers, and kind of get us you know, because I can easily come into here now that I have this and I know that I like that it's here. I can easily come in and start changing colors, changing things, that the stuff that I feel like is the finessing side of it, as opposed to starting with the finessing, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I'm going to come into here.
Total sense.
I'm just going to clean up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just totally 100% the other way around because I come more from a background of, let's call it photo bashing, like photo manipulation, poster art, and that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What I got taught back then was like, your mask is the most important thing, and you don't want to fuck it up. So make it right the first time, and never worry about it later. And this is kind of like this kind of setting here. It makes total sense to just do what you need instead of overproducing and stuff. Right.
It is very easy to overproduce with AI. That is certainly true. I've had that problem multiple times. But for the most part though, I'm pretty happy with just kind of coming into here and starting to adjust certain assets and gives just suggestions with AI. You don't have to use any of this stuff, Lola, by the way. I'm just giving you suggestions here, but it is such an interactive way to do it, such a fun way to do it. I do want to make a correction on that comic that you made for Reddit, actually, because I do feel like there's a couple actual red line stuff that I really want to contribute to that. But for the most part here, it's really just making the shots as interesting as possible, or at least as interesting in my opinion as possible, and just kind of making there be some more depth that's here. So let's go ahead and say, hey, we like this foreground candle. Let's duplicate that. Let's do a reverse of it. One of the laziest things you can do, by the way, is just mirroring things and then asking the AI to make subtle adjustments to the thing. So now that I have this as a smart object, right, that I can move around freely, flip around, that kind of thing, I can also go to edit contents, and then use gen fill on just this. So let's just say that this is a candle. So I'll come into here, keep a little bit of that red in there, keep a little bit of the flame element here, and I'll take a little bit more up this side here, and then I'm just going to write this as candle. Again, you can do this within Midjourney. You don't need to do this with Photoshop. There's you can 100% just export your assets or export your entire comic and then upload that to Midjourney for to remake these candles here. So that's pretty good. I like this one. We might need to adjust some of the style of the other candles to match this like two-tone sort of color, but this is fine. Let's just go ahead and select this. And I'm basically going to now smash all this together. One more smart object. Let's go ahead and inverse our selection. And now we just draw back the stroke outline on this. So we're going to hardness, drop that down, and then switch this to white so that now I can just draw back in the stroke. In fact, it's a bit easier with a wider brush. So let's go ahead and do that. And you don't have to be too accurate with this because, again, it's a mask. You can just go in and correct anything that you might have an issue with. So let's see. It looks like it didn't create any aspect of that. So let's go ahead and add black to this. Just a little. Looks like it's a bit of a gray as opposed to a straight black, but that should be good for now. We can now hit save. And you can see that on both of these, it saved both of the candles, right? So I need to go back. And let's go ahead and hit save a copy. And then we'll bring this over to the other one. So say here, new smart object via copy. That's really the important thing here, because then we can make these two distinct. And now I hit edit on this one, and we are going to edit the original and bring that one back to its original state here. So let's go ahead and hit convert to layers, and then we find all the changes that we made on this gen fill. So this one here, there we go. And then we hit save. So now we have two distinct candles. You can see one candle, two candle, and we are just going to start removing some of the mask on this one because we don't need it. Disable layer mask, there we go. And I'm gonna bring the scaling just a little bit down on this one to fit that hand a little better. And there's no outline on the flames, but there is on this one. So we can just come into here and edit that and just get rid of the stroke that's around this flame here. Select all layers. Okay. And now I will just, again, using masks. I'm a bit obsessive with masks, guys. I use them way too much. But I really do like being able to go back and edit stuff later, especially stuff that is in a non-destructive way like this. It's great. So now that I have removed the stroke on the flame, bam. And it's good to see you, Noob Lady. Thank you so much for coming. Let's go ahead and make some, oops. Let's bring, we would have to do some more balancing here to make it so that there's a little more like follow through with the shape of the candle. So you can see what I was kind of going for here was that the candles circle around her, right? As opposed to just being a row of candles behind her. So we would need to bring this one in particular down just a little bit, like that. and so on and so forth. We're basically just going to keep going here until we end up with something that shows a full like 10 candles around her, you know? And if you really wanted to make the audience looking through something, you could actually bring up the scale pretty high, something like here. Okay? Let's go for something like this. And what Rhapsody was saying earlier is just sometimes applying a bit of a blur. It makes it feel like there's a camera there. So we can go to Effects, Blur, and then as long as it's a smart object, you actually can change this at any time. So you can see we have this bit of a blur that's applied here. We don't want to put too much because too much blur is, it looks like the candle's like flying or in motion when there's too much blur. And go from there.
And maybe as a hint, there's more than just the typical Gaussian blur that Victor just used. That is usually used for everything to quickly blur things.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to perspective blur. There is lots of filters in Photoshop like tilt shift that will apply a different taste of distortion to your object. And it's very valuable to just try these and see what they do, because you can control them in various ways. Like, for example, the tilt shift filter, which is one of my favorites, honestly, has areas that you can control where it's getting blurred, how much it's getting blurred. You can set a piece that is sharp of your object and other pieces that are just that are blurred. Like you see this control here that has 2 bars on top and below. Everything above and below these bars, originating from the pin in the center, is going to get blurred.
It really does make a difference to learn the specific blurring tools and see what they're good at, see what they, you know, where you get a lot of benefit from it. I'm definitely doing it on the wrong layer here, but yes, it is certainly true that finding the right blur for the right effect really sells it. There is also like built-in motion blur with programs like After Effects. So if you do want to just make something look like it's moving in a certain direction without having to, you know, work with like motion blurs and stuff, you can literally just turn it on and move the character and then save a frame from the middle of it. I've done that before too. Okay. All right. So I am going to move on from this one page for a second here, Lolo, just because I as much as I appreciated some of the edits I've done here, I definitely did it in a way that's a little chaotic. So I do want to do some proper redlining now, though. And I don't really have a lot to say about this panel. I just really wanted those candles up there, and I really wanted that split to be gone, particularly. But what I'm going to do is actually grab your comic from Reddit here, because I do want to make a note about something on here that I noticed. Let's see. I have to continue here really quick and load up my damn authenticator so that I can log into my...
Did you know that Lolo posted all the pages in the VC text?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Did you know that Lolo posted all the pages in VC text?
Oh, yeah? That's great. I'm so glad he did that. There you go. Awesome. Look at that.
There is even pages that I'm not even aware of.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, the last page I haven't even seen yet. We'll have to read it. But I wanted to grab something from the Gnarly Studio server actually. Let me. Yeah, it's this one here. Whichever one he's pointing. Okay. Okay. Actually, I shouldn't do that one. Let me see here. Okay. Let's go ahead and actually grab your all's comics from this point. And the reason I'm doing that is just because like I'm very aware that sometimes when it comes to like editing comics and stuff like that, I get excited, I get like interested in doing one, and then I'm like, wait a minute, it's not exactly appropriate for the stream. So I'll focus on Demon Teacher here, and then check out what you guys are doing inside of VC Create in the meantime. Let me zoom out of here. Okay, all right. So let's take a look. Let's see what some of the comics you guys have been doing, and we'll start redlining those. Let's take a look. What are you doing here, Golden Pasta? Multiple panels of a cat girl nodding in agreement, motion line, speech bubble. Yep, just yep. Just yep. I do like this. It's I believe there's probably another premise you're going for here. I'm very curious to see where you go with this. But I see that we have from Hillgarden. I actually haven't really featured Hillgarden much, so this might be fun too to kind of dig into some of your character here. What is his character's name, by the way? What is the red tracksuit? Is it just red tracksuit guy? And meanwhile, I'm going to put Rhapsody on the other side of my screen here. So I will be mirroring your screen really quick, Raps.
I would have bet it's a version of Sir. Also, if you want me to change sides, I can just flip myself.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're welcome to come higher up on the desk, though, if you want to. Let's take a look here at some of these. I'm liking where some of this premise is. It's like, yeah, I feel like, nope, it's Barney. Is it Barney? It's Barney. All right, all right.
Yeah.
We'll go with Barney then. Let me take a look at some of the stuff going on here with him. Okay, so I see here that we don't really have. It's just exclamation mark question mark. So let's see what the epic multi-panel depicting an aggressive dialogue between the red suit guy and he, whose name we shall not mention. Okay, okay. This, I know that we're not working with finished comics here, or just like comics that have requesting review here. But I feel like there might be something I can work with this. Let's go with. I'm gonna actually re-roll this one really quick. See what else we can kind of get with this and go from there. But Rhapsody, do you mind explaining some of the seed stuff that you've noted that you were mentioning to me earlier? I'm curious to kind of dig into some of that with these guys.
Oh, I wanted to do that after we were talking about mood boards, because seeds, especially in combination with different mood board combinations, is a very interesting concept that allows for some editing of images after you have generated them without changing too much. But I think I need some examples here first.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and take some time to get those ready? And
We should probably talk about what is Victor very, very silent in my background right now, and I don't understand
not
him,
talking.
or okay.
Oh, and
He is talking.
yeah, I am. Did it not broadcast through? Oh no.
No,
Nope.
Oh, weird.
it was weird.
Okay, my
I
bad.
heard you had like 1 decibel or something.
My bad. My bad. It probably was just a physical, like I wiggled the cable and it came back on. So I apologize about that. I didn't realize I was just talking there, so I don't know where I last left off. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Well, at this point, I definitely want to start redlining some of these comics here. I will.
If you need some time to, it's just look at things and find the right material. I can quickly just.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just so that I have some time to dig through the Photoshop files here. I don't want to just start drawing without actually having a proper plan for reviewing these. So if you don't mind, Rhapsody, just take over for a minute, and I'll.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Quickly take over the screen here. Boom.
Yeah, and I'll take off your reverse here really quick. Let me transform, flip horizontally. Okay, you're good now.
I'm good now. So, yeah, let me
Rhapsody's here.
think correctly really quick. So, what I did today was making a little comic with Ryo here shooting some people, which you can find on the Nerdly Studio server. And in the middle of it, Legal Beagle just posted some interesting things about mood boards, because he did some experimentation where he was talking about. Let me quickly scroll there so that I don't miss spell it. He was talking about that combining mood boards is affecting images in certain ways. So identical mood boards with the same image in a different order results in the same image, but identical permutation with the mood boards in a different order resulted in different images. And that is very, very interesting. So if I go back to the original gen of this image here, for example, oh, this is far, far away. Okay, so I have this image here that I generated. And I'm using my Phantasma style profile code here. And sometimes what you get when you're generating is that you're getting an image, but it's just not 100% right. But it's pretty good. It's pretty amazing. You know, you want something like this. But you want to change it a little bit. And by adding mood board codes and using the same seed, you're basically able to up to 90% reproduce the same image, but with small subtle changes. It's very similar to very subtle and strong, but it also allows you to just just change the vibe a bit and modify things. So let's just take this prompt and let's copy the seed here really quick. So we're going in here and just saying seed and copy the seed in here. And now I'm gonna go back to VC Create on my second monitor really quick and grabbing the mood board codes from Victor, for example. Where is the stuff? God, I have to scroll up so much because you guys produce so many awesome comics right now. So if I'm just taking... I'm just going to take the one picture sent me earlier today. If I'm just taking the mood board codes and I'm adding them right in here before the Phantasma code that I use for my comics most of the time, you're gonna get a very similar set of images than to what we had before. But it's gonna change slightly.
I've never actually used stops before, really, Beagle. Never have. I should practice with those a bit.
Beagle talking about stops? Yeah. Yeah, stop means that the generation stops in the middle of genning. So here we have 4 of these images. Of course, I forgot to go back to the thing that I had before. I think it was a version of this. They're all edits. So this was the original gen, and I think this is the variation I got through the mood boards now. And that's a very, very, very strong difference because I added 3 mood boards at a time. So what's a better representation of this? Because I sent this to Victor earlier. Oh yeah, these here. These 4 are a perfect example. So are they actually? Yeah, this is one of it. Where's the second one? It's gone. This is weird. Why is the gen missing?
It always throws me off when that happens.
Yeah. So these are 2 images generated with the same prompt, same seed, everything is the same. Just one mood board code was added, and that was my little Phantasma mood board code. And you see, you're getting, in this case, I'm getting very, very similar images with the same like composition, but still some style changes. that are very interesting. So here we have like her more interacting with the foreground being in the background, and especially the top right I found very, very interesting, which is looking through these trees with these round speech bubbles here, which were previously like still looking through trees. There's now a little staircase with some, yeah, more square, more boxy speech bubbles. And still, we get like the same kind of composition of this image, but it's varying very slightly and also in the style. And that's something we weren't really able to do before. You're, of course, able to remix and do varies and stuff, but it tends to change a lot more. But by adding like a simple mood board code or changing the profile a little bit and mixing it with other profiles and mood board codes, you're able to do these micro variations. And that could be a tool that's very interesting for people. If you have something you like, if you have a composition that's in general okay, but you want to see some more options. That's a little thing I wanted to show you.
It's really cool. I really should be messing around with the seeds a lot more often. It's one of the things I overlook a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It's very it's a very useful tool, especially in testing things. When you're working on a mood board, for example, and you slowly add more and more images, and you want to compare the effects that images you added to the mood board to previous gens, then of course you don't want the randomness of Midjourney basically influencing everything else as well, and having the same seed kind of stabilizes a lot of the calculations that are done. So the only things that you actually change are changed, and therefore that's where you use it most, I would say. And that allows for careful development of mood boards, for example. You can just make a prompt that depicts most of your use cases, like a comic page, maybe some effects in it, maybe have a cref in it and a style reference from a character, and use that prompt with a stabilized seed to then build a mood board that helps you in your development process further. Yeah, that's it. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Change back.
you can change back. All good. Thank
All
you.
right, then
Thank
I'm gonna change back.
Woo! Look at that. Wow. I still love that transition. All right. So basically, one of the things that like at least whenever I'm developing stuff with Midjourney, I tend to find myself re-uploading stuff to the Midjourney editor quite often. So like for example, um, like I probably should just take one of these pages and just run them, right, and see what we get with it. But I really do want to be redlining here, so let's go ahead and switch ourselves back over to Photoshop real quick. Boop. Okay. So I have this page 6 here, which I actually haven't had a chance to properly read all the way through, but I do want to note something. And this is more just a comic construction thing, because this is something like Lolo actually provided all these well layered. By the way, everything here is really well organized. And basically inside of here they have their panels already split up with these borders and seams, so it makes it really easy to edit, because I could just boop, turn that off, and now we can start to mess with the panels more full. But I just want to show you what the kind of redlining process looks like here. So what I'm going to do is first I will make a new layer at the very, very top of whatever project you're working on. If someone's asking you to like, hey, can you give me some notes on stuff, this is a pretty easy way to do it. Make a new layer all the way at the top, switch to white, paste the white layer so it's all white, and then put just a bit of opacity to it, right? That's just so you could see what you're working on, right? You use an outer glow for the border outlines, or not stroke. I actually just draw them. Strokes oftentimes give a rounded edge when it's on the outside, so you set them to be on inside. and the stroke will then start to invade the image a little bit, which is a cleaner look, but it also has its own drawbacks of covering up the art and requiring more finessing than I like sometimes. So oftentimes when it comes to like the panel borders, what I'll do, by the way, is I'll just switch to black, make sure, or just a dark color, whatever my panel borders are, make sure it's a decent size, and then I'll just hold shift and draw up and down the edges until I get my paneling in that way. So it's a lot faster than working with strokes, in my opinion, because you are honing in exactly where you want things to be, and you're just holding shift to establish that you want these to be perfectly straight lines. And to me, that's faster than finessing every layer to be the right size and all that sort of stuff. But first things first is she kind of has this, basically a principal shows up and finds the demon in the room, right? And so the thing is that there's a little bit lost here in in visual communication here, which is that she is in the same room as where he is opening up, right? And it may be obvious because of previous panel context, but I do think it's important that we have a representation of her inside of this panel. So I will be taking one of her from another panel in order to construct that. But let's do a little bit of redlining here. So I'm going to switch this to red. And it doesn't have to be red, it's just what it's called, guys. So you can feel free to do whatever. But if we notice here, she has a pretty positive expression in the last panel, and she kind of defaults a lot to this sort of angry sort of face here. So I'm going to recommend that we first nix that mouth here, because like I think that she would have more of a like maybe more of a expression like this, where it's more just flatlined as opposed to necessarily like gritting teeth and angry. Because I see this as anger whenever I see gritted teeth, especially with fangs, right? I'm like, okay, that's a really angry person. I don't really see her as angry. I see her as evil, but I don't see her as angry. So that's my first red line, just right there. And, does she have pupils? I don't think so. Yeah, she does not have pupils, so I don't need to worry about redlining anything like that. But I do want to mention something about that. If you choose to remove certain expression characteristics of your character, just know that you actually are limiting yourself quite a lot down the line. If you're doing that for the sake of comedy, like say like you are that you like really deadpan deliveries and stuff, maybe you do want a character that always has the same expression. But the thing is that with this character, she does have a lot of variations in expressions, but they tend to be when her eyes are closed, like they'll change a bit or whatnot. So what I'm going to do is provide some kind of eye line for the audience to recognize where she's looking, because that's the one thing you don't get with this is we don't have any eye line for her. So like it's probably something like this. I could see easily being decent eyes for her, and giving us something to kind of be like, just to get us started here. Like I like just the fact that it's establishing that the character is looking at the person who is opening the door is enough. But I want to first try an alternative as well. So I'm going to make a new layer here, draw over that. And now what if she has more of an expression that's along the lines of she has just as much surprise as he is about the opening the door, right? So we could kind of come into here and start drawing a little bit over this, just something like this, like that, just to get us something that we know, like, okay, she has these teeth, so let's go ahead and add that here, and just start to get an idea of, oh, okay, this is what it looks like with this shape over the mouth, and then we can start to maybe lean her eyes over to the side a bit, and we can just start to see what our options are there. But for now, I think this is fine. I'm more interested in getting her over to the other side, because I see her more as a silhouette that sits on like just below this speech bubble. So she would be like something like here, and we would basically just get her to be a silhouette behind this panel. So like let's go ahead and do that actually by getting rid of this and grab her from this panel here. Like I said, there are some hue and saturation, like color balancing layers here. So for the sake of getting through that, I'm going to just make a smart object of everything below this so that I can just easily copy and paste it. Okay. and copy, paste, bring that over to here, and we are basically just going to come in and group select all of her background here. I'm doing this very quickly just to kind of hash this out for you guys, but let's do an inverse of this and then mask that, and then we just clean up the outer edges of this panel. And I'll make this unique by the time. We're not going to just have two panels that look almost identical. I'm going to do something completely different with this one here in a second here. Okay. So now that we have this largely clean, it's amazing how fast I can do this now. It used to take forever to do even decently clean masks, or like semi-decent clean masks. Now we can do it like in 2 seconds. So that's awesome. But I'm just going to now make that... Go ahead. Yeah, it is like the best thing. It really is.
Yeah,
it would be night and day difference if we couldn't do that.
Sometimes I fall back into the old ways of doing things, and then I'm sitting there 25 minutes with the polygonal lasso tool, clicking along the outlines of a character just to have the absolute perfect masks.
Yeah.
It's not necessary anymore.
It really isn't. It really isn't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put her just kind of like where I believe with the distortion tool, just about the right angle and perspective. And it's a little hard to do because of the kind of Dutch angle on this, but we can make it work. And then I will, because there's speech bubbles over it, by the way, I don't really need to worry about it much because I am going to now go to exposure and just drop the exposure really hard. And then we will balance that with probably offset to get the kind of the gray back in there a little bit. And then make all this unique from there. So let me mute this, grab this speech bubble here. Okay. I'm just going, I mean, I could just make another layer with it, but I'm just going to copy, paste over this silhouette here. And then let's just finish up masking out just a little bit of this underside here, like there and there. And at this point, what I tend to do is I'll actually just start gen filling over what I'm working on, just to see what, in this case, Photoshop beta, but in what it's going to do with certain compositions. So, like for example, I will set up the scene. Yeah.
Do you think this would work by just taking a screenshot and putting it into the Midjourney editor?
Right. And we can 100% do that. It's actually where I was going to go with this. Was that we have the construction. We have a very loose version of it that we make either with drawing or with GenFill or anything like that. And then we bring that into, we bring it back into Midjourney in order for it to create a whole new shot that is inspired based on this. So basically, I just want to get those horns back, okay? And we don't have her legs or anything here. We will rely on Midjourney to create the legs and to put her into position here. If we wanted to, we could move this speech bubble to be a little more like inviting for like the read order. So if you look at how comics are read, they're, at least in the West, they're read left to right, right? But at the same time, the text also kind of has your eye line has to follow the text in a way that makes it easy to consume. So you tend to be going from the top left to the bottom right. If you're going to the bottom at all, you're going to the bottom right because you're kind of allowing the eye to see the entire image and to read the actual text as a supplement or a complement to the art, as opposed to being like, hey, you need to read this first and then the art. Like it usually goes the other way. So this speech bubble, for example, it's a little too low. It's a little too low right now because when you read this, your instinct is actually to read maybe not the next panel in the order, but to actually, you have to jump your eye up to the panel here. So it makes more sense to put this panel at about the same height as this one in terms of the reading order of it. So if we zoom in here, show you guys what I mean. If I now bring a horizontal bar, so I'm gonna go to View, Rulers, and then I'll establish a ruler underneath the text of here. It makes sense to have these basically be in line with each other. So like right here, I have the text that shows, okay, kids, time to show up, and then you can notice the eye can just immediately dart over to here. If I wanted to establish that this is not this character speaking, by the way, there's a couple ways we can do that. Right now, it kind of looks like she is speaking because even though she doesn't have there's no speech bubble going to this woman here, it does imply that she's the one speaking it because there's nothing that tells you, hey, the speech bubble is being said by someone off screen. There are two ways that are kind of established ways to do that. The lazy, or no, okay, I'm not going to say lazy is not the right word. The easy way to do it is to do a reverse tail. So let me turn on the whiteout here, and then I'll redline a quick reverse tail on this here. So, for example, if the character is meant to be speaking off camera from the right side of this panel here, you probably want a reverse tail somewhere on this side here, just to indicate, hey, this is meant to be from being said by someone off camera. And I know that looks weird just like this, so let me actually draw it in so that you guys can see what it would look somewhat like if it was finished. I've seen this mostly popularized on Tumblr and webcomics, so webtoons, I mean. So you bake a little reverse tail like this, and then you color in what's behind it, and boom. You have a reverse tail that should indicate that somebody is not saying that the person who is being shown that is not saying that. I'm not a huge fan of these. I think they kind of confuse people more often than they help. So I rarely do this. Instead, I do the more invasive thing, and I show large tails. So or interconnecting tails. So let's go ahead and grab a new layer here. And just to make it obvious for you guys too, I will also white this out. And now we are just going to connect these speech bubbles. So we just whoop, something like oh, I got to get rid of my ruler. My ruler's screwing up my line art. There you go. So I'll just come into here, and I got to make the line art a little thinner to match the bubble. So let's go for 6 and just kind of hop that over to here, hop that over to here, and then shrink that down to make it a little prettier. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Something like this. Then we clean up the edges. Like that. Okay. And then add white underneath it. 1 and 2 just on the outsides of it, so that I can now just turn off the white here, and with a much larger brush, fill in what remains of this. And you notice that I'm going over the panel borders because that's you're essentially telling the audience, hey, read this first before you read the art, because this is meant to indicate someone who is not on camera speaking. So it helps to at least navigate the eye line. Especially to force them into unique kind of understandings of what's happening here. So now let's go with this. And now if we really wanted to emphasize that this is meant to be someone who's walking in on this room, like walking into this space here, we could take this character here, this character. Let's go with, I know that there's a bloom on the outside of this, so I just want to take his silhouette really quick. We'll use object selection for that. And didn't do that great of a job. It'll just generally get it. I know that there's a lot of layers over this.
There's something with object selection that I noticed today.
Oh yeah?
It's object selection tries to identify things based on everything that is around it on the currently visible canvas or artboard.
Mm.
So if you are limiting things like taking a screenshot of the area you want to select, just pasting it into a new file and object selecting there, it's way more accurate.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially if you make it into a smart object and then edit it inside of that smart object, it only refers to what's in that smart object. So it's a lot better for organizing. You don't have to keep making new files too by doing it that way. So I'm basically just taking this character's silhouette, and we don't actually even need to copy it. We can just bring the marquee of it down to here, okay? And then I'll make a new layer over that, change it to black or a dark color, and then paste that. Yeah, paste that, and then we got to bring this up just a little bit. There we go. And you notice here that what I'm kind of aiming for is to make it obvious which character is speaking. Okay. So let's go for something like this, and then even though we gen filled around her head already with this, I'm going to move her over to the side here a bit. Let's go for something like this. Get rid of her gen really quick and see what we can do with that. I am going to get rid of the speech bubble that's underneath her now. And again, I'm doing just gen fill stuff so that we can quickly move on and start making other stuff. But I mostly just want to show you guys that it really does come in handy to be able to just get another person's eyes on a scene and just start making revisions and changes that way, where you just say, hey, go nuts. I may not keep everything you do, but I will appreciate it, right? I get a lot out of doing it this way. So let's go ahead and fill in. Go ahead.
Even if it's just a, let's say, post-product critique or hint, I think the learning effect is very, very important with this. Like as showing of the candles in the foreground previously and stuff.
Right.
These things just open you up for these ideas on later stages. And there's nothing wrong with just keeping the panels posted as they are and just keeping these things in mind for the future and learning from them.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it really is a process of like really not getting too stuck on a particular composition or image or even idea that you have in mind. You want to just be as flexible and fluid as possible when working with this stuff. And I have a lot of fun approaching this stuff, at least in a way that may that may introduce some element of chaos to it all. But it's fun distractions for me. But first thing I'm going to do here, though, is now that we have this largely recomposited in a different way, I want to go ahead and cut off his panel here, or just his body here to go in line with the panel. So I'll make a marquee, I'll zoom in, I'll make sure that is aligned with the edge of the panel border. I'm working on top of someone else's work. They have other layers here. I could easily bring this all the way down to another layer and get it properly composited. But for the sake of getting this out, I'm very curious to basically just clean that up by cutting it off. And now we have this panel here. I'm going to make one little tail to the speech bubble here. Where is this? There. Switch this to white. Something like that. Erase the excess. And then I am going to just make a small white triangle here to emphasize that it's this guy speaking. And that, to me, like this messaging that's right here, makes so much more sense to me about like what's happening in this moment, right? Just to be able to say that, like, the tails, for example, and the tail is essentially the connection between these two. I use it a ton when I don't have complete sentences in my speech bubbles, right? Like this. Okay, kids, time to show up, right? Like that split in the sentence. I like to do that, especially when it comes to showing off this particular moment here. All right, Gompasta said, I'm still figuring out the style I like, and I feel like when I actually post the comic, I get a better feel of it. I like it than if I kept it to myself, even if I don't get feedback. It's weird. That is not weird. That is you getting over a hump, actually, a creative hump, where you, now that it is done, quote unquote, in your mind, it's never actually done. Like, it's not done. Like, you could keep working on that one piece, but why don't you just do something else, but slightly better now, because you're making improvements, you're making changes, you know. If you keep finagling with the same thing again and again and again, it doesn't give you that same reward, at least in my opinion. Hey, Nicole.
It's also the same effect you have when you can't decide between two options and you decide to throw a coin. And while the coin is up in the air, you suddenly know, no matter what it shows, like one option, you like one option more than the other. Like it, or even if you catch it and it falls on one option, like I'm gonna take a salad or a steak today, and it lands on the steak, and then comes the feeling, oh no, I'm gonna take the salad
Right.
because it's the better choice. Like, it's the same thing. The moment where you let loose and post it, you really, like, your brain gets out of this working condition, or out of this decision making tree that has no real end to it, and that makes it clear for you, to see what you like and what you don't like. So sometimes it's just better to just post things and don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, it's better to get it out than for it to linger inside of, like, if, or at least the artist equivalent to that, like the traditional artist equivalent, is to leave art in your sketchbooks and never show them to people, right? That means you're essentially you're not allowing yourself to improve. You're not allowing yourself to make adjustments that really matter, because you can speed run a lot of the stuff that you want to do, just by being willing to hear a critique or two. Like, and here's the benefit that we have as generative artists in general, is the fact that we don't really take the pain of a critique, not nearly, or at least if you do, you're kind of fooling yourself a little bit. And I mean that in a completely kind and honest way, guys. Like, we have the benefit of going, okay, yeah, I'll just change it, boop, 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 and then change the art. For a traditional artist, there's a reason why critiques can sometimes be really damning and hurtful and stuff, because you've sunk so much time and effort into, like, a mythology, like a methodology behind what you're doing. For someone to say the foundations of that are wrong as opposed to the end product is wrong is a completely different story. So if anything, we should be able to take it with a lot more grace than a lot of other artists do, because there's a whole thing about, like, not critiquing artists that don't ask for it, right? I'm going to critique every one of you guys' stuff. There's no way around that. So, like, at this point, though, I do want to show what it's like for me to bring things into Midjourney now that we have a different composition. She currently has no legs. She got no legs, and there's still speech bubbles that are darkened around her, right? So let's go ahead and try to bring this into Midjourney. I'm gonna ask Lolo, if you're still around here for a minute. Do you have the CREF for the Demon Teacher? Like, do you have the codes for her? Because I will be running her through Midjourney here to kind of see what we can do. I'm curious what aspects of your existing prompts you have for her I can incorporate into this. Okay, sweet, thank you. All right. From here, I'm going to open up the Midjourney website, and start editing with Midjourney, like editing mid comics that are not done yet, but we can make them more done with Midjourney here. So let's go ahead and full screen this. Let's see. All right. And thanks again, guys, for joining. I know that this is going to be a little bit of a slower stream because it's a lot of Photoshop stuff and whatnot, but I'm very curious to see how you guys can implement some of these things, particularly like redlining each other's stuff, right? Which I know that not everyone has a tablet that can do that, but I'm happy to do that more often with y'all. It's oftentimes that I don't get completed comics to do it, you know?
It's not even necessary to really have a graphics tablet. You can do most of the things with a mouse. Just pointing out things, making circles around things, making a stick figure where you think something should be. That all of that helps already. And I also think the stream today is quite something different, because you are showing a lot of your decision making, Victor, by the way. So that could be really useful for some people.
I appreciate knowing that. It's oftentimes that I'm trying to dig into at least whatever people are most interested in. I feel like a populist, right? Like, I feel like someone who's just trying to do what everyone wants them to do. And I really do dig getting into some of the technical stuff. So I appreciate some of the patience that I know that some of you guys have for this. So I really do appreciate y'all. But at this point, let's see.
Listeners
Go ahead.
asking if anyone has used an iPad Plus stylus. I thought that plus a Painterly app might be fun. I am using it, I would say, the same amount of time as I'm using my graphics tablet on my PC. If you're looking at Victor's model here, I would say about 60% of it that I painted was made in Photoshop on my iPad with the Apple Pencil. So it's totally fine to use that.
Absolutely, and anything to get you there. I mean, even MS Paint will do some really wicked stuff with Midjourney when you import it, and basically say, "Hey, make this look intense, or make this look ridiculous in terms of the quality or the complexity of it all." You can definitely make stick figures into wonderfully complex and interesting images. But let's see. I mostly just use my tablet to add additional accent lines or touch-ups to the image, as I can't do it much with getting hand cramps. Oh, I'm sorry about your hand cramps. I will note I do almost always draw my speed lines, like any sort of motion lines, because Midjourney, it gives me great suggestions. It doesn't necessarily understand what I'm doing because it's not actually understanding it. It's we're generating stuff. Midjourney is not a conscious being. It doesn't actually understand the intent of what we're doing, but it can get us really, really close, and close enough anyway that we can adapt things and make them into human pieces again. It is too. It is kind. No. Let's go ahead and now take Lolo Sutan's comic. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, one little neat recommendation that I have for people out there without a graphics tablet, with an iPad, for example. There's two apps that I used in the past. One is called AstroPad, and the other one is called Do It 2, which allow you to connect your tablet to your PC and actually use them on your PC in Photoshop or whatever. So you can have a graphics tablet with a screen, which is great, on your PC.
That's awesome. Yeah, I used some Windows connecting app that was really buggy, but it did the job for a little while when I had an Asus tablet. But yeah, no, iPads are better built for this stuff, I guess. But if I'm fine with my Hawaiian. I love my little $200 Hawaiian. It has a screen. I can't complain, and it's accurate.
Did you say AstralPad and graphics too? Oh, you're linking them. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for that. Okay, so let me quickly grab. Now we have our edited image here. I'm going to first just smash all this down. I wouldn't recommend ever flattening an image, frankly, because it's just not necessary anymore. But I've just made this into a yet another smart object, and I'm going to now copy and select this entire panel, like so. And I'm just going to copy it. Boop, copy. And now inside of VC Create or anything really, it's just we could save this as a unique file and then upload that to Midjourney, but I also find it faster to just go into VC Create or any Discord like this and just paste your image to get a link, right? Any sort of public link will work for this. So I'm just gonna post this version that's not finished at all, right? Just as a link, and now I have this. Go ahead.
It even works on the Midjourney website if you don't want to.
Really?
Into Discord or something.
Well, it works on the
up in the bar.
Yeah, but on the in the editor it doesn't. You have to first.
No, but you can just post it in the prompt bar, right click it, and copy the link.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now. Okay, so just go ahead and post it here. And then copy link. Okay, yeah, that does work. Okay, hold on. I'll just show. I gotta go back. Hold on. Okay, so that's funny because I've been doing this a little bit just to get around the fact that I didn't want to save the image right. Rhapsody suggesting that I come to the bar here, paste it, and then that gives me a Discord link, or sorry, Midjourney link for it. So I'll just copy this address. Okay, that works. Cool, neat. Thank you. I learned something today. So now that we have a URL for it, I'm gonna hit edit with URL. I'm going to paste that URL into here. Okay, now we have this scene with the new Midjourney editor, and I'm just going to highlight everything that we want to change in here. So I'm going to change her face. I'm going to change her legs, her hips, that kind of stuff. Just get her kind of standing in a somewhat the right position here by highlighting where I want her to be. And then Lolo sent me all of their CREF codes as well as the profile that they've been using. So I'm going to now paste that into the bar above. Now we have her CREFs here. And I'm going to say standing in the dark. And And if we wanted to, we could lower the character weight here just a little bit, just so that we allow a little more darkness into this image. Because if we run this at 100%, there's a good chance that we are going to basically force a bunch of brightly lit elements into this. So I'm going to drop this to CW80 just to start. And then they also Lolo also included a profile code, so I'll just go ahead and include that too. And then I imagine this is all in AG6, so I'm going to insert that, and then we'll hit enter, and we'll see what we get just off of that. No premise beyond standing in the dark. We'll see what her expressions are like, and then start to adapt it from there. Now, when we upscale this, there's a good chance that when we do, it's actually going to be bigger than the original is, which is always kind of funny to me. So we might have to like do some rescaling to adjust her and whatnot. Okay, so we hit a filter here. So let me go ahead and hit submitting on that again. It could have been a fluke in the sense that one of those 4 results we got broke the moderator tool. So oftentimes I just end up re-rolling. As long as it says that the prompt is fine with the result that gave me some issues, I can usually just re-roll and get an acceptable result with that. So now you can see, look, she's got some hips now. She's got her feet. That's cool. But like I said, it reintroduced a bunch of bright elements to her. Okay, but that's already so much better right off the bat. That was not prompted, lol. But it is so cute. I see. Okay, but let's go ahead and take a look. I like this one. I like this one the most. But the thing is that we do have an error here, which is that I set it up with this kind of this Dutch angle here that was in the original comic, but she is not Dutched at all in this. So it would be one of those things where I normally would come in and redo this panel so that she's at the same angle as the shot. But let's try to see what Midjourney does just by removing all aspects of her and then inputting that so that we only really preserve where her head position is. And then go from there. I'm curious if we can get her to be maybe like crouching or to the side or something like that as opposed to just standing there. I do this a ton, guys. I take individual panels that I'm working on, I'll bring them into Midjourney, and then we'll basically re-roll aspects of this. And there you go. We got that error again, so I'm just going to submit it one more time and see what we get.
I'm curious if this problem is something that Lolo Soon is running in a lot. And Legal Beagle and the other guys.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just be honest with us, guys. I'm curious. How often are you getting hit with the AI filters with your characters? It is something that I'm curious if there's a way that we can weight against it. Like, for example, if I were now remove the profile code and then submit, sometimes certain profile codes, certain SREFs will produce more horn dog material than others. So sometimes just removing aspects or elements of my prompt is enough to bypass whatever thing hit me. All right, so we are getting consistent.
I get a lot of in the external editor, but lately the internal editor has been a lot better.
I see. I'm gonna try
the internal.
Yeah, I'm trying my best here to see if I can maybe just remove some elements here, just to kind of inpaint a little extra here, and see if that's enough to give it a little more room. I left some of her hips in the last result, and that definitely was encouraging. Some of that imagery. So I'm curious if we can bypass it now. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is try to drop the character weight. Let's go to like 50 and do this one more time. It's the result of the image that's giving us the issue, right? So worst case on Discord, only you can see this. I know, right? Yeah, it's just copy and paste the image if you get that error, if you want others to see it. It's been horrible for me the last few days. Loads of older prompt denied. Yeah, I'm getting just constant denial off of this image. That's a little bit frustrating. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this instead. I'm actually just going to take off the images of her that shows a lot of her hip here. So let's just get rid of these ones here. I'm just curious. This one's also kind of blurry. Or no, it's blurry because it's been crunched down. Okay, let's just get rid of that. We'll just go for this and see what we get. Try changing dark to darkness. Standing in the darkness. Okay, I'll try that. Yeah, At least Standing in the Dark also gave us that issue. So I'm curious if Darkness fixes it. Sometimes it is. There's like a particular word in it just leans towards certain imagery. Yep. It just we're not getting any luck with Demon Teacher today. Well, yeah. It's constantly erroring out for me. So why don't we do this then? I'm just going to not even include her prompt in there at all. Just to get her a silhouette, and then we will reinforce her silhouette after we get something that Midjourney isn't going to get angry at us about.
I mean, you could also just analyze the inputs. Maybe remove a CREF here and there.
Right. The individual images we can probably... if any one of you get false positives on your images, please drop the info into AI mod bugs so the dev team can take a look and make improvements. Awesome. Well, thank you for that suggestion, Celeste. I know that is those hips don't lie. But we can see here that we, without any description of the character at all, at least we got a posable using the profile code. It all at least matching in terms of the art style. So I'm going to go with again, you guys really should be re-rolling things constantly and not relying on the first results like I tend to do. But I am going to now grab all these and see if it's the CRF that's doing it or if it's just our particular composition that we got going on with this. So let's go ahead and do this one more time. But now that her feet are in a better position, and basically just going to try my best to alleviate this problem here. So let's paste that into there and see if it's any one of these CRFs that are really causing the problem. Fungi Man said, quite often my purple demon male chest, way less recent though, and some unwanted boob elements might appear when I prompt for one of the female mushroom characters, probably because some of the skin description in the prompt. Yeah, it oftentimes is what's written, right? Because Midjourney will kind of reinterpret some of the imagery in a way that is more safe for work, I guess. But like, it's very subjective. Very like that didn't work. Let's go ahead and try dropping this to 0. I'm curious if we can just bypass it entirely without any character weight on there. I'm sorry, I'm like live troubleshooting for you guys, but I recognize that some of you guys appreciate that. So.
Oh, good. I mean, this is part of the process as much for you as it is for anybody else.
Yeah. I will note that that Destiny hits this way more often than that's better. I like that. That one's good. All right, so now we can start to slowly increase her character weight here and see if we can bypass some of this. It's a nice sanity check.
Remove the CREF that has this big close-up of her face, like the third one.
Oh, yeah. Just curious if we get anything off of that or if it's just going to crash on me. This one here, though, yeah.
In this case, I would, for example, just take a quick screenshot of the left side of that CREF, delete the whole CREF and just post the full body.
Yeah, I agree. So as soon as my Chrome isn't crashing on me, I'll do that. Okay, there we go. So let's copy this. Quickly bring that image into Photoshop so that I can copy the left side of this image.
Windows Shift S.
Yeah, that's true. I could just snip it. But let's bring ourselves back into Midjourney here. Oh, come on. That's right. I opened it up in Chrome. There we go. And get rid of all these.
I'm addicted to shortcut.
Yeah. No, I used to be. Not anymore, though. Let's go ahead and say Standing in the Darkness, and then I'll bring this back up to like 80 and see if we can bypass that at all. Yeah, it is certainly true, though, that, like, Destiny runs into a lot more AI filter stuff than Sage does. And I feel like that has to do with the fact that Sage is always in, like, pretty conservative or modest work attire, right? If anything, it's very tomboy. And that gives us a little less of that. You're sane. Even if I feel gaslighted by MJ sometimes, it's like, oh my god, they're wearing khakis. She's not giving anyone... Yeah, yeah. But the colors, yes, exactly. I'm just gonna hit submit on these. So if you ever get this error, by the way, after your Chrome crashes using the website, just go ahead and resubmit these. That probably will do the trick. If you don't see the spinny wheel or a percentage, then you know that you got to do that. Nope, that didn't work. Ah, too bad. Too bad. Let's see here. What if I preserve just the parts that I think Midjourney is getting angry at me at? So I'm just gonna submit that, and then we'll see what it does. But I should move on though. I do
No, no,
really.
don't worry. I placed some boobs for here, so you cannot see.
We'll see what this does. Look at that. Look at that. It's getting us slowly closer there. Let's. Okay, she's got a tail in this one. Let's go ahead and now that we've sort of established this a little bit, I got to get rid of her boots. You can compartmentalize this a lot, by the way. Like just do it the way that I'm doing, where we're only like taking segments of her and just kind of seeing what Midjourney will let us get away with, and then take it from there. So I'm gonna just go with something like let's just see if we can get around the issue with the chest here. I mostly just wanted to show you that you can take comics that you're currently working on, bring them back into Midjourney, and either completely like change the premise or the situation of it, or uh, just in general you're trying out new things. We can actually expand off of this panel and try to do a mid panel, like something that would normally come after this. Yeah, as soon as I start drawing over her chest, Midjourney gets angry. So I'm gonna move on from this one for now because I can now come into here. Let's just take one of the whole pages and then do it that way, because then we're not so focused on the female form here. Um, let's go ahead and open up Photoshop here. Okay. And I am going to take... not this one. All these are so good. I don't want to really edit this one necessarily. It's just when it comes to some of like the legibility stuff, like overlaid elements and whatnot. Sometimes it can be a little tough for folks to read the line order of like what's happening here, right? So like, is your voice weird? Look, the phone is floating above the circle. Like this makes sense, at least from like the line order of this one panel. But now we're asking our eyes to jump back up and then to come down to here. When does she say this? Right? Does she say this after what's happening being said here, or does it these are the kind of questions that people will have when you're reviewing multiple speech bubbles on the same panel. So if, for example, if she is meant to say sic fiat like after this, I would actually put this bubble down. Hold on, let me just grab the text here. I would probably put this down something like here if she's meant to say this after the or whatever. Then it would be like an underlaid speech bubble. So we would basically, and I'm not saying that that's what this is. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
I personally was super confused by this specific panel and this specific speech bubble. I even would remove it completely because the sic fiat is already printed above the speech bubble again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is right here. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in terms of, I don't know who's saying this text right here, you know?
Right.
Um
This is super confusing for me. Like, if you look at the panel above, we have this black outline
for the text.
that is clearly something that's coming from, like, the phone.
Right.
And I think she's on the other side of the phone, so she must be the one saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the speech bubbles are the characters from before. So having her with the speech bubble that is doubling, like, what she's saying there is really confusing.
Yeah, that I get it now from the way that you kind of broke it down there. Lolo, it's okay, it's okay. This is all part of the process. Okay, like I promise you, when it comes to particularly read order, this is actually something that we help tons of artists with on Discord, because there's so many particularly when it comes to language, like English language, like nuances that make it really annoying to kind of put things in the correct order and stuff. So in terms of this being something said like from the phone, this is what the red text is meant to indicate, right? I would certainly basically, like right now, the phone needs to be a character in itself. It needs to not be the voices that she's saying necessarily. If we wanted to convey that, then the speech coming from the phone needs to be her speech bubble specifically. It needs to be what either identifiably hers, as in there's like a color to it or something like that, or there's or in general, everything is pointed back to her in some way. So, what I would recommend for this anyway is that when it comes to anything that the phone is meant to be, like all like the magical words that the phone is saying, you probably want to have an indication of like, I probably wouldn't have her shot be this. I would have everyone reacting to what's happening on the phone here. You had your eyes done. From Rhapsody's character here, or Rhapsody's character model. Yeah, I can actually look
No,
around
no,
now.
you.
What?
Your eyes are different than the last time I saw you.
Um, uh,
Yeah.
in my VTuber?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I changed a little bit of the eye line, but I didn't make any edits. I don't think.
You blink and your eyes move now.
That is true. That is true. That's all Rhapsody.
Ah, okay.
So at this point though,
I
I
wasn't here.
that's right. You weren't here for the unveiling.
Reveal and stuff.
Oh, I totally forgot about
It's
that,
complete
Kinky.
new.
Yeah, the whole model is completely new, actually.
Yeah, I was sick last week.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you feeling better though?
Mostly, yeah.
Oh,
Did you only just notice that? Like just
I
now?
just noticed it. Yeah, I've been looking at the chat.
Wow. Okay.
all good.
Then I apparently did a good job.
You did a good job for sure. But what I want to show here is like what I would do here, at least for this speech bubble here. I would get rid of this one. The moon and behind it is actually really cool. I would not have covered up the moon. This the sick Fiat or whatever. I like, to me, what that sounds like is you're calling someone's car looking cool, because that, we're not Italian, we're not Latin, right? Yeah, you're like, that's a sick Fiat you got. That's how I read that.
But it
But
was money,
oh
cash
yeah,
money.
I see. Yeah. But in terms of the read order of this, I would heavily recommend having the text be more like this, where it kind of cascades down to represent that this is like all happening, um, not in the moment that she's in, right? So like something like this, and then maybe bring up the sick Fiat to like here, and like it's not ready. It's not at all good just yet. But I would recommend that, to where there's a little bit more of a line order to the uh, to each text here. So, nope, not that, not that. Let's lock this one down. There we go. Okay, and yeah, and just kind of make this a little more. Like I'll have to take some time to kind of like dig through some of this stuff here, but I personally would drag actually this all the way up here, all the way above your paneling, and just kind of make it like, okay, now we have this here. Now read how the sick Fiat lines up with her eyes, and now we can now everything flows a little bit better, in my opinion. In terms of reading, in terms of knowing who's meant to be speaking at any moment, if she's meant to be speaking this kind of like demonic stuff here, or I say demonic, it's just Latin, but I would then have a layer underneath all this that is simply going to connect all these to her. So something like uh, uh, something like that. and then put white behind them. Oops, why is that bringing that up? All right. And we basically just interweave all of these panels together. Okay. And I know I'm just roughing this out really quick for you guys, but like I would basically just have this all bouncing off of where the source is, which is the phone. Okay. So it kind of acts like a bit of a zigzag. And we come all the way back up. We can even use this line here for that. We come all the way back up to swirl down and say, hey, this is actually coming from the phone. Okay. I know it's obvious, or a little more obvious, because the red outline on the phone is the same one matching the text. But in my opinion, this will sell it a little more to do. And I should have done this as a proper red line, but like if we just kind of come into there and let me actually add that really quick.
I mean, if you get the red black styling for this kind of connection that the rest of the text has. I mean, not the strong, like the triple stroking, but just the black red outline, double stroked.
Right.
Then it would tell that it's all connected, all the same source and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, I fully agree with that. If we just copy the stroke effect as an extension to this panel with the tail and everything, it'll exactly tell us who's speaking and who's saying what. So, like, if I now mute this here, we could easily grab this effect, this outer glow here, copy layer style, and let me see if this is just enough to get us there. And then paste that style. It's probably going to look weird. Yeah. So you can see that, yeah, we're definitely not there yet. We're still mocking stuff up. We don't really have anything cleaned up or anything. But I personally would lean much more towards the idea that this is like almost like a tornado of text that's coming from her mouth, as opposed to saying, hey, basically what you're asking the audience to do is to interpret, okay, the speech from her phone is actually coming from her with all this Latin text. So that's all I'm gonna leave it at that for this one here. From here, I don't really have too much outside of just when people are speaking, they have their mouths open. It's a little pet peeve of mine. It's not something like, there's so many artists that do this, that they do it because it's just that's how they draw. They don't necessarily justify this. I brought this up with a group of about 65 other artists, and I asked them specifically, do you consider the consonant of what your character is speaking when you decide what mouth they're going to use, like when you do the expression? And 9 out of 10 of them said no. They don't consider it at all. They just do what they just make an expression that emotes the way that they want to. And it's my animation background that's kind of making it really hard for me to do that. But like, say, what the, okay? My emphasis would be on the W, like the what, or the, as the what mouth I'm going to pick here. Frankly, most artists will just let you do this and you'll be fine, where it's just like, okay, let's open up her mouth, right? Just bring this up to about here. Something like, I'm using way too wide of a brush. Hold on. Okay, bring that down. If we just kind of open up her mouth here, it will do a lot better to convey just blank speech, like just open mouth. But I'm going to actually go back, paint bucket fill, just to get it faster. I rarely use paint bucket nowadays, actually. It's one of the very few that I don't really touch much, because oftentimes I end up just...
Has a lot to do with you doing the mouth on Robot Chicken, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is about when it comes to the mouth sync in particular, you kind of get programmed to see when it's wrong as opposed to when it's right. So I'm oftentimes going, that's not the right mouth for what you're saying. What are you doing? Like I'll see like professional animators that, or not animators, cartoonists that are just like, why does every expression have to be just this? You know what I mean? Or
Even with the Vizies for making a VTuber, like with the mouth shapes.
Right.
Very
it's very easy to fall into just 2 mounts, 3 mounts, or whatever, but you're gonna need more to make it sellable. So my instinct here, right, which is what most artists, I would say most artists do not go out of their way to do this, but I would look at these consonants. So we have what, or nah, we have what and the. Okay, so if we were going to say that it's the we wanted to emphasize on, then I would draw her tongue pressing up against the roof of her mouth, because that's what you do when you make that sound. And it's very easy to just instantly get so much better when it comes to like the aesthetics of what you're working on, just by picking the right mouth for the right top. It's just my opinion, guys. I recognize this is a bit excessive, but it is something that I'm a bigger fan of doing this because it means it feels more animated. I get that compliment a lot with my work, is that they feel like they're watching a cartoon. Because I am picking mouths that make sense for the speech, and little things like that. So let's go ahead and do something like this. I think that'll work. So if you wanted to,
Also the mouth chart for your VTuber.
oh, thank you, nice. But if you notice now, it looks a lot more like she's saying the. And if you wanted to make her a little more devilish, right, you just give her a forked tongue. You know, like there's little things you can just add that are going to like really sell this a little better, at least in my opinion. So she's like the. So we could do something like this, and then actually drop the brightness a little bit, just the opacity just a little bit, so it's a little less dark. Nah, we'll keep that. And if you really wanted to like take this to another level, you can also like in paint just the rim, like the bordering elements to this, and see if we can get her teeth to look a little more devilish. So like we can say like devil teeth in Photoshop beta here, and it probably will do something fun over my art, over what I just drew. Okay. It's not uncommon for me to like what I've generated more than what I drew, just because you have an infinite amount of options. We'll see what this does. Look, it added little shading, little bits of her teeth here. That's fun. Let's go with this one, okay? What? Sorry.
The last one is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's just white splotches everywhere.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and just work on top of this. I do this all the time, though. I literally am just constantly like layering, paint gen, back and forth until I'm happy with what I get.
That's why your comic pages take gigabytes in sizes.
Exactly. I know, and it's not really advised. I would honestly recommend going a lot more conservative when it comes to like your layers and what you're doing with them and like all that sort of stuff. But yeah, and I think Photoshop just crashed on me. Wow. Yep, it did. I can move in the canvas. I cannot change my brushes.
And that means your UI is stuck, but you should be able to still save with Control S.
Oh no, I got it. I just tabbed out. I tabbed in and out, and then it let me get it. So we're good.
Save it.
Yeah. Look at that. Look, it's locked because you don't have enough necessary access for permissions. What? Why? Okay. Let's just Lolo page 3 test. Okay. It's saved. All right. So at this point, though, the devil is attacking Photoshop. The devil is indeed in the details. That is certainly true. So at this point, I like. Okay, yeah, I like this sort of tongue. We do need to draw a little more outline, though. But I want to come into here, and I want to see if I just exclude some of the little bit of the tongue that I have here, and then I say forked tongue. Sometimes Photoshop will just like completely ignore what I'm writing because like it's awful, honestly. Like I really don't like Photoshop beta when it comes to prompting. I really like it when I run things without prompting anything at all. But sometimes when it comes to this, like you can make do with it. So it's very realistic. I don't know what this little like you see this little doohickey that's hanging off of this. This is a perfect example of where I come in and I just hit gen fill and I don't write anything and I just let the context solve it. You know? But now that there is more shading on her tongue here, we can actually... Wow, it really screwed that up. Let's just do that, and then I'll add another layer. Black. Boom. There you go. And we can go basically one step at a time. Her tongue is no longer forked, though. So let's see if we can get her a little bit of lipstick back and go from there.
You're losing yourself into details right now.
I know. I appreciate you letting me know. Oddly enough, the viewer count has increased in this time. Normally, I'm used to it dropping in this time. But I'm gonna move on. Let's just go ahead and get this brought up to here. And to me, this emphasizes the as opposed to the what. Okay. So I'm so sorry, Rhapsody. I will have to do one little thing here, just to emphasize this. Let's go ahead and grab.
Oh, good.
Let's go ahead and grab this and see what I have to. Okay. Okay, there we go. Oh, I have some weird tool that's. Okay, I see what's going on here. All right, let's go ahead and convert this. It's just not letting me deselect things. It's weird. But what I'm going to do is I
think your Photoshop is borked right now and you need to restart it.
I probably do. But I'll just do this one little emphasis here, which is, what does a W sound like instead of a the? Like, instead of the. So that would be a w sound, like you're going to be pushing your lips together and projecting it as like kind of like an O sound. So like.
Have a quick look on my VC text thing, really quick.
VC text.
Where's find something useful to show there?
Yeah, just a second here. Oh, my W mouth. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Or the chart on the left, at least.
Right. So I'll just pull this up here so that everyone else can see this. So we have the basic chart that is the phonetic sounds, right? So the W sound that we're looking for here is the U, no, and word, where the example is provided here, and it's just a little bit of teeth on top and bottom and an O mouth. For Rhapsody, the way she drew Victor with this is to have the O kind of like a donut, like the what is the Western? Western O's. So let's go ahead and grab that really quick. So we can even manipulate this within Midjourney if we wanted to say, hey, actually I want this mouth, but we're gonna just go with this. I'm gonna copy this over, paste this in, and let's just first try to bring her mouth, at least to preserve some of the shape here. I'm gonna go for that. I'm gonna draw over that. Something like this. Layer underneath. I always do these like multi-layered approaches because it really lets me hone in exactly what I'm working on and why. So right now I'm only focused on the border between what I just drew and the teeth underneath it. And so if we wanted to say she always has a little bit of an upper lip coming down, like say there's a character, like say she has a bit of a snark to her. Sometimes you'll want to include that where it's just kind of like at least colloquially known as a stiff upper lip, right? You can really emphasize that by first drawing it out like this, and then being like, okay, she actually has that. Then we just bring that back, right? But she's evoking a lot of anger at this moment, so I want to bring that anger down and go like more like ooh or whatever. So let's first draw this in. You'll notice that whenever you're drawing with solids, you're going to, wherever you draw, it doesn't look like the generated image anymore. And that's because of noise. So if you zoom in close enough, you'll get the grid. But if you just zoom out just enough, you'll see that there's a randomized noise pattern. That's because it's a generated image. And then the drawing, where I drew over the skin, is not noise. There's no noise to that at all. And so before I even start to draw, I will take wherever I have done big blank like color splotches or swatches like that, and I'll just do a gen fill with no text, nothing written in there. Again, you can do this with Photoshop or Midjourney. And I will have it only generate the noise, like to bring the noise back of this scene, and that's what sells it for so many people. So like if I look at the left side here, oh, did I do that underneath what I was drawing? Let's see.
I think yes.
Did I? No, I didn't. No. Okay, let's go ahead and bring this higher up then. I'll just go up to above the mouth. Yeah, let's go for that. And then gen it on top of there. It's so it really makes all the difference when it comes to people looking at the work, because anyone that has experience in Photoshop knows how to manipulate the images to make it obvious. There you go. We got the
Interesting that you're going the way of generating the noise again.
yes.
While I'm on the other side, I don't want this noise at all.
I know.
And I remove it wherever I can.
Right, and you can remove it more with like levels and other things to kind of denoise. Like you can even just run denoising, things. But in my opinion, it in terms of like, it's just more work. It's just a lot of work to remove the noise. So and what I do is I reintroduce the noise into certain parts of it. So let's see here. I will now finish up this O mouth by bringing up her teeth here.
What I do usually to denoise images really, really quick in Photoshop is going to edit image size. And there is a slider for denoising.
Oh, okay. Nice. I'll have to check that out. I the only reason I try to avoid that is because I just know how much work I'm going to be applying to a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm gonna be constantly running that one filter, and then I'm gonna forget it, or I'm gonna do something different, and it's not gonna work for me anymore. I'm making excuses for myself, but I oftentimes will apply some new technique that I've done, and then realize that I forgot to apply it for the rest of the image, and I'm like, no. Why is this one so noisy and there's no noise in the rest of it, or whatever. It's also why I don't like the idea of working with Adobe Illustrator and using generative tech, because it does a process afterward to make it raster, or like no longer noisy. And it I don't know. It just does. I just don't like it. I don't like my work being manipulated to that degree. Ironically speaking, anyway. There we go. All right. She's now speaking with more of this like open mouth here, and we need just a little bit of tongue. I would just do a highlight for the tongue with the mouth this dark, right? Just a little highlight. You could even, if you wanted to, put a throat. Let's go for something like that. It's a little too big. Anyway, yeah, just wanted to emphasize here that it really does make a difference when it comes to the expressions, particularly to pick the right mouth. She's very angry still in this shot because she's got like the anger lines here. I could just gen fill those out. And in general speaking, like it really is just a matter of what mood you're aiming for with this. Okay, there you go. So now that she has no more anger marks, which by the way, those anger marks aren't really in the right place either. I think they should be up here because where do your veins bulge in your face when you get angry? They don't bulge in your cheek, right? They bulge up here. So it would be something more like this if she was actually angry, but I don't think she's angry in this scene. So yeah, little expressive, emotive, symbolistic stuff is going to be good to kind of nix or otherwise know that Midjourney is just going to randomize those. It has no idea whether or not like a character is actually angry unless you prompt for it, and then there's going to be like a deduced median or average of what an angry face might look like. So it's not in any way conscious. Okay, all right. So we messed around with some redlining, redrawing, all that kind of stuff. I'm curious to see what you guys have done in the meantime, because I have definitely prattered off here for a bit. Do you want to dig through VC Create with me, Rhapsody?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff for sure.
Yes, there is. I'll swap our cameras up to here, and we're gonna start digging into what you guys have done. If you don't mind, do you want to take over the screen for a minute here, just so I can take a couple sips of this? I don't have a smoothie anymore. Sadly, I don't have smoothies anymore. I now have a Gator Light. Boom.
I hope it's working. Oh no.
Wait, no, it was doing the infinite loop thing.
Let me get back to VC Create here. So I think my quality might not be the best right now. If I look at this stream, which is replicating, I'm getting blurrier and blurrier
Yeah,
by the second.
and I noticed
So
your
it
mic
might
is
not
kind of
sound good
static.
to it.
It's all good. It's all good. And your mic started clicking a little bit. Yeah.
So,
The
no.
How does one stop having smoothies?
That's a good question. It's my local smoothie place shut down. Um,
Oh, I thought yours were homemade.
no, no. I spend an absurd amount of money buying smoothies and
It's
coffee.
working.
There's a comment here from Lola Soon saying, "Thank you so much for the useful insights, Rhapsody and Victor." I hope it was. I wanted to go through more of your Reddit stuff too, but I feel like that just focusing on the demon characters was probably a good starting point for that. And in general, I want to see what you guys have been up to and making cool things, especially with these comic prompts and stuff. Because I've noticed that a couple of you guys have been making some really cool stuff. Like Enid here has made some really stellar.
Oh, there's so much.
There's so much.
Yeah.
Like I'm this is the first stuff I'm looking at here, and I'm just already impressed with like this third one here where she's holding the gun out and inviting you into this room. I love that. I just made that profile. Awesome. I'm curious what you made it with. Let's see here. All right, so here's with the comic panels. Multiple panel comic May West. Come up and see me sometime. So you can see that. Ooh, this is actually pretty fun.
Come
Um,
up, come up and see me. Could be a musical.
yeah, yep. And we know Nameless loves their musicals. It's a group of mice shouting phrasing. I love this. Um, okay, yes, they all kind of look like Blobby, right? Um, let's see here. From Snoopy again. Okay. I do like some of this stuff. I'm curious if we can kind of get a premise going here though. That's what I really want. This looks like the top right one looks like the diner from that famous painting. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but it's about at the right angle for that. Um, I do like this party shot a lot though. This one right here. Let's go with this one. I just like the consistency of the same brick wall where it kind of looks like it's like a moment of party, right? Where everyone is kind of in the same bar talking to each other. So this is an example too of where we can kind of see the continuity aspects of the existing elements in the frame. So I'm just going to use the Midjourney editor really quick just to get like, okay, this guy's not wearing sunglasses in one and wearing sunglasses in the other. I'm just going to inpaint that by itself and see if, because of the sunglasses on the other character here, if it's going to translate over. I don't think it will. It's pretty good about going, okay, if this is the context in this frame, let's try a different context. And from here, we're going to let that render, and we're going to check out a couple more things from you guys. Yeah, I'm curious, Enid, in terms of the uh, context here. Like, what exactly can you link the mood board, or is it or what is included in it? I'm curious, just because I'm seeing some pretty fun continuity here.
I'm still baffled now that we have CREF and SREF and all of the good things and an editor and whatnot. How much work mood boards are simplifying? It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
it is crazy. It's crazy because like, especially if you mood board includes the characters that you're working with, it's like a night and day difference. Let's see. Okay, let's take a look at this mood. Okay, for some reason that's having me log into something. Let me try that real quick. I think it's the alpha.midjourney URL that's doing that, but let me see.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. It's very pink. It's very, very pink. Oh, okay, yes. So this is a very sci-fi themed, all like bubble pop. I'm gonna go with sci-fi bubble pop. That's what I'm gonna describe this as. I'll load it up for you guys so you can see it.
Very good description.
Sci-fi bubble pop. That's what I would describe all these pictures as being. So it is one of those things where
I
I'm.
might eat that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty fun one, and like because the character is in here so much, your continuity of prompting for that character is going to increase even more. So like especially if there is continuity of your characters. Now you are including a couple live action things like this, right? And I'm sure that's fine, but it is something to where if the goal is to maintain continuity, I would be worried about including like strong variations against your art style, particularly when it comes to the character art. So like if we now come into here, like we have your character here. We have the mood board for it. You didn't use any CREFs in this one yet, so that's good. So let's mess around with that a little bit. So let me take one of these and use it as a CREF on top of what you're doing here. I need to go up a little more, I guess, to get some better full bodies here of her. So let's go. I don't want her holding a prop, so I'm going to go with this. No, she's holding yes, we'll go with this one here. Okay. Her arm is really weird in this on this sort of side here, but that's okay. We're just doing this as a test to see what this does here. Let's see. It's on there. I can show you a Need You Regular. Feel free to share. Yeah, I have to mention Enid and pink hair. Just learned I can delete images from mood board. I might need no guns. Okay, I see. So let's go ahead and add her as a cref here. So hyphen cref, and then paste the link to one of the images that you have in your mood board. And it helps to give direction as well. So we'll see what this does just on its own. And then start, because look, you start adding speech bubbles here. You, me, bedroom, now. Love it. That's fun. Very demanding. Let's see here. There's Lolo doing so much pink.
The Muppet Show cats in the bottom left. Yeah, those.
Yes, that's what they are. Oh my god, yeah, they're there to make fun of every performance. I love it. Okay, so we have her CREF now in here, and you can see that there is a like stellar consistency here. Now I'm curious if I give a premise to this, because right now it says just multiple action comic panel black borders, just basically describing the image itself as opposed to the context of the image. So let's just say that she is multiple action comic panels depicting her running away from a giant robot. And I'll get rid of action shots just because I feel like it's a little redundant with me asking for multiple action panels. And we'll go from there. Now, keep in mind, too, that there's, if you include a bunch of comic panels in your mood board, you won't need to describe it as a spaceport or a sci-fi story or anything like that. In fact, because there is so many sci-fi elements already in your mood board, there's a good chance you don't even need to mention sci-fi, like, at all. We'll have to see. Oh, Snoopy running with these profiles here. There's some just really fun results that you guys are getting off of these. I mean, look at this first one. My God, hold on. I gotta show this. And this is looking like Ranma a little bit, but
yeah, I was immediately like. Also, the other panels in that generation, like, incredibly Ranma inspired.
Oh, is that because you prompted Ranma? Did you prompt Ranma? Defeats K.
Oh yeah, you did.
Oh, you did. Of course you did. Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That makes sense.
The prompt explains the prompt.
It does, and I'm just so gullible. Well, in fact, it kind of more of a testament to our media knowledge than anything else. But yes, let's see if we got her running away from the giant robot. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so she's not running for the robot here, and that's largely, I feel like, because the character weight is so high. But I am going to run it with CW0. Now, keep in mind, we are using a profile that features her heavily already in the mood board. Okay? So by including a character weight of 0, there's a good chance it just fills in the gaps with what's in the mood board. No guarantees. Every one of these profiles are different, especially when you start combining other mood boards. Um, when DeepSeek tells me it loves me, you need a giant Chinese logo on the chest for that to be true. Okay, here's what's so exciting about this. All right, so I love this fact that we can do this now with the mood boards. We have a bunch of results here. I'm going to zoom out. We have a bunch of results here of a character that is largely in line with your OC, but with a character weight of 0, which means we get dynamic compositions. Like look, there is literally a giant robot behind her, and she's reacting to that giant robot. Dropping the character weights really makes a ton of sense for this. Look, she could be working on a robot, and then like another one comes up and approaches her. Lots of potential with this. We just need to now inpate the details to match the character by bringing the weight back up. Okay, so an example. In fact, I'm going to run this with. Let's run it one more time. What do you guys? No. Don't you guys try to put me to bed by eating all that bread. Let's do one more, but this time I'm going to increase the stylize. See how much that affects it. And then if you wanted to do any sort of like seed related stuff on this one, Rhapsody, I'd be curious if you did. But it's certainly true that I'm really digging Enid's pink bubble pop sci-fi. It's definitely cute.
I did not do anything yet. What do you want seeded?
Oh, no. I mean, I'd like to start messing with seeds on this result of character weight
No,
0.
not yet.
I'm just curious what it would do. But let's see what this does. How to read eyes and know when someone is thinking.
I find it's good for like expressions.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. And here's what I was talking about earlier with the stylized. Notice how the comic panels are largely gone, and it's just mostly focused at a full body shot of Enid. It's balancing the stylize is something that I feel like is kind of a crutch for people, right? Like they will just defaultly bring up that number really high and be like, this is the best Midjourney's going to give me, and that's not true. Stylize is not what it sounds. It's not a quality filter. It's not, that doesn't make sense. What it is a like a way to say, hey, I would rather it look pretty rather than fit the description of what I'm writing. You're actually giving Midjourney more freedom to kind of make creative decisions for you, more so than you would before with the high stylize. Sometimes you can get like wonderful imagery with the high stylize and then drop it later when you're expanding, just to get more like unique interactions and more interesting imagery. But for the sake of this, we'll bring this to like 250 and then compare those results. Why is character weight 0? So character weight is 0 in order to not make the shots all kind of be like, what we can call them like headshots, right? Like, so if I come here and we look at this, okay? This is with a character weight at 100. Notice how we have a dominant panel of Enid on the left side of the image, and then like 2 or 3 complementary images. There's not really, it's basically like just here's the same girl in a slightly different position. We're not really getting a lot of context, especially of what we've written, which is depicting her running away from a giant robot, right? But if I now go back down to where I drop the character weight to 0, just a moment. Yeah, where I drop the character weight to 0, yes, her outfit now changes, but guess what? She's being chased by a giant robot. Like that's the intent. There is the character weight is going to lean less on trying to recreate the image that's inside of your character reference and more use it as a loose inspiration. So we could even up res the third one here and see what happens when we just do variations off of this now. We can do this as a remix variation or without remixing at all. Like we can. This is a bit annoying to do on Discord, but you can turn off remix mode and then run that variation subtle again, and it will run it as just a standard variation without my ability to edit it at all, and the results will be slightly different than if I had left remix mode on. It's a lot easier to see that difference when you're working with the website as opposed to Discord, but for now, this is an easy way to do it. Okay, so intro to the Ghoulery. Ooh, I like this. That's a good one, Snoopy. Okay, all right. So this is with let's compare the difference between variation subtle and remix subtle really quick. So let's see here. That's from Lolo. I like it. I like where Lolo's going with that, but I want to see. Okay, yes. So this
I'm
verse.
gonna push up a seed experiment though.
Do it. So it seems like the difference between these two is very minor, but what I'm gathering from this is that the variation without remix mode is giving us a little more continuity of like her expressions, especially. But the robot itself constantly changes because we are just doing variations. But once we land on a robot we like, we can then expand the story from there if we wanted to. What were you saying, Rhapsody?
I just pushed 7 gens with like all kinds of combinations of mood boards. Everything else is stable in the same prompt with the same seed, the same CREF, everything else. And we're just going to see the impact of all of the mood board combinations that we have. This is super interesting. I'm going to upscale the first one from each gen. 3, 4, 5, 6. And somebody already did the last one. 7. Are you not saying it? Yeah, it's kind of hard in VC Create right now to compare all of these with each other.
Right, right.
The thing is, though, yeah, it's better to explain it, I think, with better
It can
examples.
work.
It's working if you already have some profiles enabled. Like if you're switching from one mood board to another, you're probably getting a completely different result. Like I did in the first few, I just ran a different mood board on the same gen, and it gave completely different outcomes. But if you have like 2 or 3 mood boards in there already, and you're only switching out like the last few, then you're getting the same composition, kind of, with slight variations in style. And yeah, it's
Usually, if I have any hope of having a seed work because of the way that it's set up now, that they're not especially effective, especially after a long period of time, because the server, like all the technical stuff moves on,
yeah.
and the number gets resigned and moves on to something else. But if you have a real hope of having it work, like I would have one image and then have a permutation of all your mood board numbers, and then immediately use that that seed number right afterwards.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's questionable whether it'll even work.
Yeah, and that's how it works basically. Yeah, that's a good technical hint for everybody who wants to try to do this. Seed numbers have a limited size; they have a limited length, and these numbers need to be made up for new people to like basically, yeah, be used again. So that's why they rotate and they don't work after some time.
It's interesting. Yeah, I didn't really think about that much. I do want to point this one out though, really quick. This one's from Snoopy, using the three codes that I had given at the beginning of the stream. And this is the kind of continuity I'm talking about, where there's subtle differences between each one of these panels is subtle enough to where I can start to piece a dialogue between these characters, right? Whether it's just like, it could be something where he's just like, the ghost's like, I look nothing like that. Or like maybe he's like, I kind of look like that. No, no, I look exactly like that. He's just so happy that he made a great jack-o'-lantern for this ghost. Things like that, I like a little inspirational moments that I get from seeing this kind of continuity. So it's really exciting to me, to see these sort of results. Um, I am curious, from Enid's here. Let's see. So this was one you're in. That's how I write. Awkward. Penguin comics, exactly. Awkward penguin, yeah. So we could see. Is this a okay? That's a zoom out. I see. I see. Okay. Yeah, I am kind of curious where you guys want to kind of hone in exactly what profiles we're working with here. But I just that specific combination of like what's the one that's been added here? ZG45LRE. That's from Snoopy. Is that one of your profiles? Why is zero character weighted? It's the Ghoulery code. Oh, okay, neat. So it's adding some horror elements to it. Nice. Yeah, this is all really fun, guys. Especially if you get something that kind of looks like the characters off of the mood boards, you can always inpaint your characters in afterward.
I'm wondering right now, as we're getting closer and closer to the finish line for today, I think, if there is anything that people in the audience want to ask right now after seeing you constructing comics and your thought process and stuff, is there anything you want to know from Victor about the thoughts he's putting into comics and how to deal with these outcomes that we are seeing VC create right here with great mood boards and stuff, to make something out of it? Just asking that now that we have some more time.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to hear that from you guys. Especially since, like, when it comes to some of these results, I'm very curious to see how you guys actually find utility in them. Like this little penguin guy sitting alone, in the snow. This is amazing to me. Like, not only do you have a back and a front, but you can immediately be like, okay, I'm I'm alone. I don't know where my parents are. That kind of thing. All right. So Enid says, where are good places to share comics we make and how to share them for reach? Okay. I can answer that. Well, I would not recommend X right now. I would recommend Blue Sky if you're. That's for. I'm gonna recommend Blue Sky. Just it's not a pit of despair like it is right now. But when it comes to particularly where I get the most constructive feedback, where I get the most like honest enthusiasm, I would say it's probably Blue Sky right now. But you really, in terms of getting exposure, really the Gnarly Studios Discord is the best place to come for just the initial review, because we're going to be able to highlight things, let you know what parts made sense, what parts didn't, because then you're going to get a lot less of that frustration and annoyance about generative imagery, after having that human layer. It is a safe space for it. It's a safe space for the kind of rough edges that we deal with when we're looking at this imagery. And it really, in terms of other places, I post to Reddit, but Reddit is one of those things where you either need to be in a very specific subreddit, like for example wizard postings, right? If you're doing like fantasy themed stuff, because they allow AI art, they allow all sorts of AI imagery inside of that subreddit. That you're gonna see a lot more intrigue in what you're doing with that. If you're posting to very very public places like r-comics and stuff, you really need to take the time to make sure the images look good and are clean, and because otherwise you're just going to get a lot of angry messages. I heavily recommend getting it posted on our server first to say, hey, is this ready, and then we can tell you if it's ready or not. At least for the most
Real
part.
quick before you move off the topic, I do have a Blue Sky account, and I make I'm making Midjourney community starter packs. So like people, if they follow them, they follow like everyone most of the time on it. So if you want to be included in those, please go ahead and DM me after you follow me so I can add you to them. And then and like I said to Enid, that goes for everybody. If you tag me in your work, I'll push it forward to the other people that follow me as well.
Right, right. And if you're not familiar with Blue Sky lists, they're very handy. Starter packs and lists are a great way to get introduced to Blue Sky, and just lets us be able to very quickly. You can just hit follow all on anyone's starter pack or anyone's list and go from there. I do have a list for the Ardash comic artists that they're currently using, so it is active, and it is people are actively migrating to it right now. So.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm laughing at.
Second place. Yeah.
I was laughing at this. Just slop.
Yeah. As a second place to post things in a more traditional environment, I would maybe, if you're still using Facebook, join one of the Midjourney groups there, like of the specific AI groups. That's a way of getting visibility. And then if you just want to go into the wider public, I would say the most positive of all of them still is Instagram right now. Um,
At
but
least in my
yeah,
opinion,
Yeah, there's a
Instagram
good
tends to
community
be.
on Instagram
Yeah,
that we can connect you with as well if you reach out to me later.
yeah. Instagram is great for the widest audience possible.
yeah,
Facebook is the wider audience in terms of profiles and stuff, but Instagram is the consumption engine. Like that.
yeah.
Well, I watch my brother-in-law's wife go through Instagram, and I'm like, how do you look at everything that quickly? I like how I look at VC Create when I'm scrolling through your old stuff and I'm able to absorb most of it. Right, that's fast. It's not nearly as fast as someone doom scrolling Instagram. Okay, um, like it's too much. But yeah. The For the most part, though, I tend to be leaning on Blue Sky, Reddit, and Instagram. The Reddit is going to be your biggest crapshoot of success or not. In fact, it's most likely mostly not successful, and then you end up getting that one viral hit, and you go from there. Um, but from here, guys, we have our show after the show that we do here on the Gnarly Studios server that you guys are more than welcome to join. It is where you can come on the stage and speak to us directly, and we can all chat and hang out. Especially if you got projects and stuff, we can collaborate with you directly in the show after the show. But it's also a place just to hang out and see what other stuff we're doing, whether it's games or whatever. We did Jackbox on my birthday last week, and that was so much fun. And I'll be stoked to see us doing that more regularly because it was just too much fun to play games with you
We
guys.
could even maybe do today. I'm open for it. If the people want to play, we can play some games.
Yeah, we'll see what people are up for, but feel free to join the VC on VC Text. Just feel free to click that join button next to Gnarly Studios, and that will let you hop right in. And we'll be on the voice chat there in a couple minutes. Just come on in and say hey. all these comics, guys, are awesome. There's so many potential little stories that can be told just from moments like this, right? Where the continuity is just, it just knocks it out of the park for the humor here. As just kind of a final like note here, especially when it comes to some missing elements, like see how she's missing here. We really don't need to do anything. We could just highlight over generally where she's missing in here and hit submit, because the thing is that so much of what we're doing with Midjourney is based off the imagery that's already in your canvas. Okay, when you get stuck in in like a frustrating little pocket or hole, like just something's not working for you, right? Most likely the reason is because there's too much information already in your canvas that's leading you in the direction that you may not be expecting. So you notice that when I inpainted her without any additional description at all, because we're using the profile codes that we've provided for you guys here, as well as a couple from you all, it only took the third iteration of one reroll, one variation region, for me to get the character again. Now she's wearing jeans in the other, but that's fine. You just inpaint the jeans out. Look at that. That is so much easier to do, and it's all because we have it all baked into the mood boards for you. So I'm very curious to see what comics you guys can make. Please post your comics to the comics chat inside of our server. I want to read them. I want to see what you guys do with these characters. It'd be so much fun. We didn't even get into the character portal today, so that's fine. We'll do that next week. As well as fantasy. We'll be opening up the fantasy space again next week. So I have to get ready for February because I'll be bringing in one of my artist friends to help out with more stuff towards the fantasy stuff in February. So let's do it. Let's start that. Let's start that stream next week, and next week's stream will be on the 31st, so the last day of January. I think that's a good way to kick us off into Fantasy February. That's what I'm going to call it now. Just randomly decided that. Fantasy February. Let's do it. Nixie said, thank you, Victor, AC, Kinky, and Rhapsody, too. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nixie, and thank you, Snoopy, and Enid, and all of you guys. Lolo, especially, if you're letting me, critique your comics today. Celeste, thank you so much for joining. And I am just so excited to see what you guys do with this. I think that there's a lot of potential here. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you over at the Gnarly Studios. Oh, you got some announcements. That's right. Totally forgot about that.
Just one quick one. I would love it if you came to Prompt Battles this weekend. We do it all weekend for about 16 hours. So if you're online, you'll probably catch us. We do Saturday and Sunday. Here is the link to Saturdays, and I hope to see you there. Have a great night.
Oh, thank you so much,
Bye-bye.
Kinky. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. See you over at my server.
Wave now.
Yeah, wave. I should be waving. Can I wave? Yes. Hold on. Let me see if I can wave.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
You
trying.
have some
I'm
thumbs up.
I'm trying. It's just. Hold on. There you go. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Not used to hands.
Yeah, I'm not used to hands. Bye, guys. Later.
Okay.
Later.
Oh my god, it's not on his butt.
No. Bye. Later, guys.